Freedom's greetings, Helldivers. Ervin here, and today we are breaking down the new Omens of Tyranny update in Helldivers 2. Last night was an absolutely massive moment for the game as Arrowhead hot dropped this update right in the middle of the Game Awards. Suffice to say, me and the stream were absolutely stunned by the announcement trailer, dropped the Game Awards stream, and started playing the new update immediately. So today, I'll be going over all the changes in my usual fashion, talking about each change and what they mean for the future of the game as we go along. Let's get started. Starting off with the biggest news I'm sure you've already heard, the Illuminates, the third faction of the game, have joined the fight and invaded the planet of Calypso in the Solaria sector. The Ministry of Truth believes that the Illuminate have returned through the Meridia anomaly, lending some credibility that we may have indeed royally pissed them off by sending a bunch of mutated Terminids straight to where their new doorstep was via high speed space UPS. For obvious reasons, they likely got quite upset about this and began abducting our colonists and brainwashing them into undemocratic monsters, aptly dubbed by High Command as the Voteless. Due to this transformation indicating a loss of basic human rights in the eyes of our glorious Super Earth government. I will, of course, be doing mini breakdowns on this new faction in the future, including new tips and tricks, build guides, strategies, enemy weak point breakdowns, and more, so be sure to sub to the channel to keep up with all of this and more to come for the channel very soon. With the Omen of Tyranny update, we've also received new urban city style maps to fight off the invasion force on. These maps are full of roadways, buildings, and most importantly, solid cover for our Helldivers for once. I spent all night on these new maps, and they have really brought an amazing new feel to this defense campaign. Finally feeling like you are really defending humanity and not just some random dirtball like Hellmire. Hoping these new maps now make an appearance in every defensive campaign like they did in the original Helldivers for every faction, and Arrowhead has hopefully not been shy about their implementation. We also got yet another huge content drop in the form of Helldivers 2's first vehicle, the FRV. This not a Halo Warthog allows the full squad, if desired, to hop in together and drive around the inner city. You can aim out from the seats, fire the HMG mounted to the back with 3 reloads available, and run over the voteless in droves, to my pleasant surprise, without the vehicle erupting into flames. With how flimsy our mechs were, I did not at all expect the vehicles to be this durable, but as it turns out, they are pretty damn hard to break. Unfortunately, this vehicle is currently only available at random spawn locations during this current major order, but it will be available to our Helldivers for us all over the galaxy soon, according to Arrowhead. Starting to get into the weapon changes, the SG-225SP Breaker Spray and Pray got an ergonomics buff of 100%, going from 25 to 50. Even with a light to non-existent armor the Illuminates have, this weapon is still only a passable option at best, so for most this is a pretty nothing burger change for the weapon, unfortunately. The Plas 15 Loyalist received an extra mag, now sporting up to 5 magazines, up from 4. This Truth Enforcer's sidearm was a very powerful addition, but its low ammo count was likely holding it back from competing with the Big Iron. Likely, this extra mag gives our Helldivers more of a reason to pick this one up. The Bushwhacker shotgun has been utilized for mandatory reload drills every Tuesday for the last month for our Helldivers, allowing us to get the reload speed down from 3 seconds to 2.5 seconds. Not my favorite sidearm personally, but triple barrel shotguns are badass, period. And this reload speed is sure to be an enjoyable change for shorty shoddy enthusiasts the galaxy over. The gas grenade got a demolition force buff from 10 to 30, now allowing it to take out fabricators through the vent, bug holes, and the Illuminate warp drives through the door. The gas grenades were already pretty solid crowd control and picked a decent amount against both the bugs and now the Illuminates. So the fact they can now carry this utility into the match with you no longer needing to be pairing up with a grenade pistol, it's a pretty big deal of a change in my opinion. Oh, and the incendiary grenade got a fire duration increase, which is interesting because previously all burning effects on the ground lasted the universal time of 15 seconds, meaning this could have potentially changed all of the fire duration on the ground for everything, unless it's been changed to be separate now. Not really sure about this yet. The RL-77 Airburst rocket launcher can now swap to a new cluster munition with the programmable ammo mechanic by holding down your reload bind. These projectiles detonate based on a timer instead of a proximity trigger, making them much more user friendly than the proximity triggered munitions. A good change that is sure to save many of our Helldivers' lives in the future. Well, after everyone is done blowing each other up with the new munitions, that is, and the usage rate actually normalizes. The Laz 98 laser cannon received a new bag of ice, increasing its maximum magazines to 2 from 1, and can now fire for 20% longer without overheating. Considering this weapon last saw some pretty nasty nerfs to its durable damage, giving it a better uptime was generally a good way to compensate, so we'll likely start seeing this support weapon used again. We've also received changes to 5 different underutilized boosters, making yet another one of my videos inaccurate in the process. The flexible reinforcement budget booster now reduces the cooldown on new reinforcements by 25% instead of 10%, bringing your reinforcement timer down from a base of 2 minutes to a minute and a half. Good for newer players or when your allies bring questionable loadouts, but it should still be left at home by the majority. The expert extraction pilot now reduces the extraction call in time by 30% instead of 15, meaning a base call in of only 1 minute and 24 seconds, down from 2 minutes. Not likely this will be utilized by anyone other than the speedrunning community, but this will be drastically changing the world record times for every single category, meaning the Blitz divers, who represent some of the best the Helldivers have to offer, have their work cut out for them reclaiming their records this patch. Godspeed to you, Blitz divers. Muscle Enhancement Booster now further reduces movement penalties across the board by 40% more. This was already pretty solid as a booster, and you'd probably be taking it during any operations on snow or desert planets in particular. But this change now means it'll almost entirely remove Terminid acid as a mechanic as well. Recommend giving this one a try once fighting the Terminids isn't the equivalent to treason. I mean, seriously, what are they doing over there? The squids are invading, and somehow we still have a chunk of bug divers. Dissidents, I tell ya. Dissidents. Anyway, Motivational Shocks now lowers the duration of movement impairing effects by 75% in regards to specifically Terminid acid and possibly a few other activators that I'm forgetting about. Still not much to see here, and still think they should have just made this reduce the time you spend in the ragdoll animation in addition to this. The Peak Physique passive now increases melee damage by 100% instead of 50%, meaning your Helldiver deals 100 melee damage, enough to one shot body shot automaton troopers as a notable benefit. We also have a whole host of melee weapons that I'll be talking about more in detail later on in this week. But generally, you should absolutely be using the Peak Physique passive if you plan to use a melee weapon now. No question. Moving on to the jump pack change. This was already my favorite stratagem to take to automatons following the change, but you can now aim while airborne, as well as stim, making it even better. There are going to be so many sick clips coming out of this through the week, mark my words. All sentries now take longer to set on fire. For that matter, so do our Helldivers, making random flickers of flames grazing your nutsack not suddenly set you ablaze, inflicting you with instant combustion and third-degree burns. What a great change this was. The exosuits received a durability overhaul, with a lot of stats shifting around as you can see here. But generally, the takeaway is they are more overall tanky, but will lose their arms much easier than before. These will likely get a lot better still when they decide to drop the vehicle bay, which they surely will be doing so soon. Don't worry, the next time is still to come if this ends up not being enough for you. Getting into some of the enemy balance, the reinforced Scout Strider, also known as Alexis's OC, has finally been toned down a tad. The big bots constellation will no longer spawn them by the hundreds, as their spawn rate has been cut back significantly, and there is now a brief pause and clear visual before they fire their extremely lethal rockets. On top of this, you can now more consistently shoot the rockets to destroy them, which is all great. But they did for some reason make it so they'll fire the rockets at closer ranges, which is unfortunate. This enemy is still the scum of the earth, but I suppose these changes will have to do. There were also a couple notable fixes. Ones like the automaton barrager tank's turret actually stopping functioning after the body is destroyed, the bug breaches continuing to function while the larva is being carried, the hive drill terminal has maybe finally actually been fixed and will be interactable consistently. Maybe. We'll see. And most importantly, ragdolling has been further addressed. This first one was one of my suggestions I made a long time ago. You now remain prone after ragdolling instead of automatically standing up, giving you control of your character back sooner than ever before, allowing you to make the choice as to what you'd like to do next instead of automatically standing back up into the rocket swarm that floored you to begin with. In addition, you now burn for a lesser duration when ragdolling, preventing some very annoying death circumstances. I think this last change is likely going to finally put the nail in the coffin of the ragdolling issue, as this was my final critique on the matter. There were also a few miscellaneous fixes, such as improvements to the automaton ship crashing animations. The electral conduit passive, not preventing the ragdoll from Tesla towers, has been fixed, which is now a pretty solid armor to use against the Illuminates, by the way. No longer taking falling damage when jumping over with the jump packs, and Helldivers no longer instantly dying when the HMG emplacement they're on is destroyed, are all very solid, quality of life, minor improvements. We have so much more to cover this week, and my sleep schedule is likely to suffer. But I've never been more excited to play Helldivers 2 and share all this new information with you guys. That's all I've got for you on the patch notes, though. So I'll be moving on to my breakdown of the new warbond that just dropped as I was making this. Until then, thank you to my coffee supporters for helping to keep the channel going, and thank you for watching till the end. I'll see you next time. Run him down!
Oh,
run him over, Clay!
zombies.
Run him down! Okay, that does not mix well. Don't do that.